Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome, folks. Today, the Hungry Gamer is back with another Game of the Year Nominees edition. And I will say that this year was a very different year than last year, because for me, this was really the year of the dungeon crawl, of the adventure game. Last year, I didn't have any on my list. And that's a huge thing for me because I love me some dungeon crawls. And so this was the year that there's a whole bunch of them that were in contention, in consideration. And it was actually interesting because there were so many of them. I actually, before I could even make this list, was pitting them against each other and thinking, well, they all can't be the best. So I need to pick the best of this and then look at the other types of games that I played and kind of pick the best out of those too. So it was a very long process to get to where we are. However, we're here. Let's talk about these games. So first, I'm going to start with something I haven't done in the past, and that's my disappointments. And there's two games that fall into my disappointments. And that's because I fully expected both of these games to be on the list in contention for number one. One of them I actually expected last year on the list, and it didn't arrive in time. It arrived a few months late, so it wound up on the potential list for this year. And the first one is Ping Yao, and this one arrived, and it's a fun game, but I just gotta say, they just missed the mark on the production. That's all I can say. There's not enough resources in the core game if you're playing with 4 players. The last time I got to play it with 4 players, we ran out of stuff. We were using all kinds of stuff to proxy more Saichi and more coins and stuff. And then there is a mistake on the board. One of the boards, it just is written wrong. It has the exactly wrong thing written. It's reversed, and if you know it, you know it, but that's disappointing. And along with that, in the solo, they did not come with any solo challenges for the Golden Pawner expansion. So all of these things comes together to where I'm disappointed, and it's not on my Game of the Year nominee list like I thought it was going to be. Still a fun game. I still got it somewhere right around here. Still enjoy it, still going to play it, but didn't make the list. And the next one is Theurgy, which I was going to say is probably going to be in competition for number one this year, but didn't make it. As near as I can tell, it's still in custom, so it'll qualify for next year, but super disappointed it didn't get here this year. And of course, it'll be a whole year that I have it, and we'll see if it can survive all the way through the year. It's probably unfair, but stuff that arrives later in the year in some ways has a little bit of an advantage because it's fresher in my mind, and I've probably played it more recently. But anyhow, I try to be objective. But as I've said before, this Game of the Year list is where I'm completely subjective. It's all about what do I like the most, and all of my biases are all over the place. So, those are the two disappointments that I had. Now, let's talk about my 2 honorable mentions. Now, as I said, this was the year of the dungeon crawler for me, and 2 dungeon crawl adventure games didn't make the cut, even though I liked them, and when I was playing them, I fully thought, like, Game of the Year potential right here. And the first one is Role Player Adventures, which showed up for me a week after kind of my cutoff date of November 15, which I do every year for my list, so then I can play all the games again, and then before the year's out, actually make my decision. But Role Player Adventures, like the game a lot. Finished it, whole thing, which is very, very rare with adventure games and dungeon crawls, big campaigns, just because of time. But it was just too easy. And I really enjoyed it, but even for me, and I like an easy game, sometimes I like to push through and get the story and build, but it was just too easy, so didn't make my finalist, though definitely does deserve an honorable mention. And then the other one is Stars of Akarios, which I really dig. I like it a lot, and what's pulled it out of the list for me is compared to the other dungeon crawls that I'm looking at, one of the most important things to me is story, and the story for this just isn't up to the standard of the others that did make the list. And some people are kind of down on the Stars of Akarios story. I'm not down on it. I'm enjoying it. I think it's solid and interesting, but it's not amazing. And the others on my list are amazing. And along with that, what I realized is there's 3 kind of phases of the game. There's a space combat, there's a world exploration, and there's space exploration. And for me, I love the space combat. The world exploration is good, and I enjoy it. And the space exploration right now, it's there. I think further into the game, as I get deeper and deeper, it will probably be more important, but it's just not quite there. So for all those reasons, it didn't make it into my top 6. Yes, 6. I have 6 this year because one squeezed in that I feel like I just need to be in there, and more plays will determine where it lands. So all that aside, let's jump into the 6 Game of the Year nominees. These are in no particular order. I literally took them, I wrote them on different index cards, I shuffled them up, and drew them out. That is the order that's here. Some of you will be like, oh, you've already listed your favorites up and down. Totally not true. But here we go. So the first one on the list is Planet Unknown. And this is one that was super, super hot when it first delivered. It's been a little bit less hot lately, but I'm starting to actually see more of a little more buzz. This is a polyomino game with lots of simultaneous play, which I love. Cool, lazy Susan in the middle. You're spinning things around. You're taking your tiles. You're putting them out. You put your tiles down. Your polyomino pieces. You're going up tracks. And as you go up these tracks, you can cause yourself to go up other tracks. And you have this combo chaining thing going on as you're going up these tracks. And it's brain burny. It's satisfying the way the objectives work as you're kind of competing against a player to your right and your left. Just very, very clever. And I really, really like it. And I don't love polyomino games, which is funny because this is now the second polyomino game that's gotten a nomination for my Game of the Year, Kingdom Rush being the other. But this is one that just really, really works, I think. So Planet Unknown on the list. The next one on the list has gotten lots and lots of buzz, and that is Flamecraft. And I've played a lot of Flamecraft. And it has the benefit of being a game that my wife is in love with. It is one of the best productions of a Kickstarter game you will ever see. And very, very simple, easy to play, light hobby game, Euro style, contract fulfillment, resource collection, with just the most adorable looking thing you've ever seen. So that is Flamecraft. Next one on the list is Revive. And this is one that you're starting to be able to get here in America, I think. But Corey Thompson was kind enough to bring it back from Essen for me, and I am just super high on it. This is one that snuck in at the end because the few plays I've had, I'm in love with it. I just love the mechanics of this game. I'm not sure if the theme's going to come out a lot once I start going through the little mini campaign in there. It's not really a campaign, it's just you're slowly adding new mechanics to the game. It gets a little bit crunchier as you go. But I really, really high on this game, the way things combo together, the brain burniness, the way you're customizing yourself as you're going through the game, what you're unlocking versus what your opponents are unlocking, your individual player powers, all of that. I'm really, really, really high on it. The biggest knock I have on it right now is I don't love the solo mode. It's kind of just a race, which isn't my favorite. And I don't necessarily really get the theme. You get the theme a little bit if you like really kind of dig into it, but it's not a very thematic game, but mechanically, really, really digging it. Next one on the list is another one that's been all over the hotness, and that is Oathsworn. And this is just huge story, boss battler. But what really makes this one pop is, one, the story is incredible, amazing. The mechanics of the way you're playing your cards and using your cards, and you have the ability to either draw from a deck to see what your results are, so you can count those cards, or you're rolling dice and they're exploding dice, and there's all these things that I like, and options and choices, and they've done it to where, yes, you have to always have 4 characters, and I like having lots of characters out, but they have it set up to where you can have characters that are just super, super condensed and easy. You can put them on simple mode, and they're still powerful, but it's just simple, and I just love everything about it. The app, the narration, it's just an incredible, incredible triumph of a game. And obviously, I'm super, super high on it. Next on the list is Familiar Tales. And this is the second adventure game that I have on there, dungeon crawl adventure game. And this is from Plaid Hat Games, Jerry Hawthorne. And just the story of this is incredible. And again, another app with incredible narration that goes with it. This is one that it just kind of warms your heart as you're playing through the game, And what's cool about it, particularly cool about the story, is you're playing through 3 eras. You start out and you're protecting this baby princess, this toddler, and you're these wizard's familiars that have been sent off to save this child. And then a third of the way through the game, she's a toddler. And now she has her own agency, and you're trying to help guide this toddler around as she does whatever it is that she's going to do. And then 2/3 of the way through the game, she's now a young adult and has a different agency of what she can do and her own powers as you're kind of guiding and moving your way through this story. And it's just wonderful. The deck building mechanics of it are very cool. And I don't always like deck building, but the way it works here, it's just really on point. And it takes some of the things that I liked about Aftermath and it kind of improves on those. The art's great, the story's great, I love the storybook, all those things, very, very cool. That puts Familiar Tales on the list. And the last one on the list, heard of. And so the last one on the list is one that a lot of people probably haven't heard of. It didn't make a huge splash when it was on Kickstarter, and it finally has delivered. And it's one that's, obviously I'm pretty high on it, and that is right here, Rise of the Gnomes. And this is a gigantic box. It's a worker placement area control game, and you can play solo, co-op, or competitive. And each player is their own little microbrewery, and you're trying to beat the gnomes. The gnomes, their brewery that they're kind of coming out of nowhere with, I compare them to, it's like Amazon meets Budweiser. They're just flooding the market with this crummy beer. They have all the money, they have all the power, and you're trying to get a foothold. And kind of the cool key conceit about it is that each round, the options of where you can place your workers changes. And the order with which they are activated changes. And so you're putting your workers out, and then once all the workers are out, then they start going in this order you're going through. So it's almost like a mini programming game that you're doing. And it's very, very cool, very clever. Each of the factions is asymmetric, and you're able to kind of build them up as you wish as you go. Everything about it very, very cool. I really like the co-op. I think this is one of the best co-op games that's not a pandemic-style game that's out there. I'm not as high on the competitive. There's other games in the competitive that I like more. And then the solo is cool, but is so hard. But as a co-op game, and a large player count game, and a convention game, this one is just fantastic. It is so underrated, and definitely one that if you like area control and worker placement and those kinds of things, really, really worth checking out. So there you go. Those are the nominees. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to take the next couple of weeks and maybe next month, whatever it may be, and I'm going to replay all of these games as much as I can. And that's how I'm going to rank it. It's that simple. And what's going to determine it for me? Basically, what do I have the most fun playing? It seems kind of silly, but that's how I'm going to do it. And so all of the games that are on this list will receive the amazing, boom, nominee badge, seal, whatever. They can do what they want with it. Probably nothing, because who cares? And then eventually the winner is going to get this even more amazing, boom, seal like that, right? Pretty cool. And that's it. So please, down in the comments, let me know what games would be on your list for Game of the Year. Which of the games that I have on my list have you played? Which ones do you want to play? Which ones do you think are ridiculous that they're on there? And just let me know what you think. So there you have it, folks. That is the nominees. I will have the winner as soon as I can. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.